So a mom and a dad in Bellingham thought it would be fun for their 6-year-old daughter to participate in Bellingham all-comers track, where kids, as young as like 6 years old, they can show up, they can participate in track and field events, just a fun summer activity for kids. And then their girl, 6 years old, in the 6-year-old girl category, comes up on the track field next to the sign she's supposed to line up next to. And this is what it says. Girls and non-conforming genders, 6 years old. Girls and non-conforming genders, 6 years old. What in the world is wrong with these people? 6 years old. How many 6-year-olds out there have non-conforming genders? What in the hell kind of parents are allowing their child at 6 years old to have a non-conforming gender? What kind of 6-year-old even knows what the hell a non-conforming gender is? So like these parents, they had a good time, taking their daughter to the track meet, but this was understandably upsetting to them. And her dad wrote a letter to the City of Bellingham. Specifically, he wrote a letter to Billy Reeves, who's the Community Enrichment and Special Events Coordinator. And he wrote an email. And the email started off very nice about the all-comers track. Says, Billy, first of all, I would like to let you and your staff know how much the all-comers track meets are appreciated during the summer months. I think these meets give kids and adults a great chance to attend and compete in what I consider the most natural of all sporting events: running, throwing, and jumping against their peers. So this is not a hostile email, not in the slightest. Her dad goes on to say, one thing that I noticed last night, though, has left me scratching my head a bit, and I wanted to get some clarification from you on it. For each of the starting lines, there were strategically placed cones with the age groups with signs that indicated boys on one side, girls on the other. Excellent idea, he said. Keep the cats somewhat herded. However, upon further review of the signs on these cones, it also mentioned and non-conforming genders. I've got to ask, what is this all about? Splitting the girls and boys into 2 divisions is basic protocol for track. It's been that way forever. I'm not sure what the City of Bellingham is telling these girls, that are in most cases much smaller and less developed than the boys of the same age, that this is acceptable? That it's okay for a boy to pretend he's a girl to run in the girls' race? Please explain to me how that is fair. He goes on to say, it's my job. I love this dad. I love this dad. It's my job as a father of a daughter to teach her how to learn how to compete in life, run the race, so to speak. But to have the organizing body of this meet tell participants that it's acceptable to cheat to win is not acceptable to me. Maybe I've misunderstood the intent of the City of Bellingham on this, so a clarification from you would be appreciated. At the end of the day, I want to make sure that women's and girls' sports are kept fair. Love this dad. Like, okay, I know it's a 6-year-old running a race. I know my daughter is like not in the Olympics right now or in highly competitive high school athletics, but I want her to go compete, and I want to teach her about fairness and also about, being competitive. Being a little competitive is okay, but how am I supposed to tell her that she has to compete against a boy and that she can't beat him? So, kudos to this dad. So, again, Billy Reeves, the Community Enrichment and Special Events Coordinator for Bellingham Parks and Recreation, sent back a very brief response. Hi, Tyler. He said, thanks for the kind words about our program. We work very hard to make it an enjoyable experience for our participants. All-comers track and field is designed specifically to be inclusive and welcoming to the entire community, including those with diverse gender identities. And then he sends them a link to the WIAA Gender Diverse Youth Sport Inclusivity Toolkit. He says, it is worth a look if you have additional questions. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. So totally punts and basically says, we take guidance even for events for 6-year-olds from the WIAA Gender Diverse Youth Sport Inclusivity Toolkit, which it doesn't seem a WIAA event. It seems like just something put on for fun in the summer by the City of Bellingham to allow really young kids to get out and be physically active and compete in something. So I went through the WIAA Gender Diverse Youth Sport Inclusivity Toolkit. Wish I could get that 20 minutes of my life back. But it basically says, it gives guidance for schools and really for any athletics in the state of Washington to be inclusive of people of different genders. And the bottom line is, it says athletes will participate in programs consistent with their gender identity or the gender most consistently expressed. Or the gender most, so they can flop back and forth. Whichever one they most consistently express, that's the gender that they get to participate with. I also thought this was really interesting in case you think that there's any scientific basis for this whatsoever and that this toolkit is rooted in like scientific facts and what makes sense from an athletic perspective. It's not. There's this Q&A section. It says, Lord help us, God bless the broken road. It says, question, don't transgender girls have an unfair physical advantage over their teammates? So what they're saying, don't biological boys have an unfair physical advantage over girls? And this is what the WIAA, again, the state's sporting entity, says. The presence of trans female athletes on teams throughout the nation has not been shown to diminish opportunities for others. Lie. The athleticism of any female athlete, as we know, can vary widely from that of other peers. True, however, you're not taking into consideration biological men. Yeah, because that would vary slightly. Height, this is the one that gets me. Height, musculature, build and weight are a few variables that impact performance. Additional factors that contribute to a potential advantage include access to skills building opportunity at earlier ages, access to facilities and coaching, greater funding for programs and teams in certain privileged communities, chronological age, birth order, and more. For these and other reasons, some athletes have advantages and opportunities over others. Are you kidding me? So basically the argument that the WIAA is making here is that there are, that whether your parents could afford to put you in a coaching program could be just as much as an advantage for a female athlete as being a biological boy. Like it says whether you had building opportunities at early ages and access to facilities and coaches, or you're from a privileged community. So if you're a girl who is from a privileged community, which I assume they mean is white, and you had access to, I don't know, a playground and a gym when you were a kid, well, you have just as much advantage as a biological boy who's participating in girls' athletics. And that's just stupid. That's just dumb. And that's the WIAA. Those are the regulations and the ideology and the ideas that are governing all athletics in the state of Washington, K through 12, even at the most competitive levels. Oh, well, little Shelly, she had, a basketball court at her house growing up, so it's okay if a biological boy competes against her. That's their mindset. That's insane. And that first line, the presence of trans female athletes on teams throughout the nation has not been shown to diminish opportunities for others. What rock are you living under? How many examples have there been? I mean, just in the state of Washington. A boy won one of the state track meets in Washington. So girls were disadvantaged, right? That was an opportunity. It diminished an opportunity for a girl to be a state champion because a boy was a state champion. The same thing happened in Oregon. A boy was a state champion. So I would call that a diminished opportunity for a girl to be a state champion, would you not?